How's it going, guys? My name is Stone and welcome to these reviews. Today I'll be talking about the Moody Blues' third studio album, In Search of the Lost Chord, released in 1968. This shows the band using over 33 different instruments and replacing the London Festival Orchestra that was used on their last studio album with a mellotron, so that they can still continue to provide those string and horn embellishments, similar to, of course, Days of Future Past. This would also be their second concept album that deals with many topics such as self-discovery, exploration, and of course the search for the mystical, all-knowing lost chord, which remains lost until the last few tracks. Sorry. While this album did take some time to grow on me, I find that its musical and lyrical themes offer quite a spiritual journey that still implements those psychedelic and progressive sounds of the 60s very well, and all does this while sounding very sophisticated, I'd say. Side 1 opens with Departure, which basically introduces the general concept of the album through whimsical poetry that I'd say only the Moody Blues can do so well without sounding too pretentious. It blasts like a rocket into the next track, Ride My Seesaw, which I think is an excellent single to use from this album. I like how much more rocking it is compared to everything else, due to its driving rhythm guitar and gripping melody. It also makes for a great opener to the album, as it's very ambitious, yet it still provides an ambience that would grow even stronger in the following songs. This fades into Dr. Livingstone, I presume, which is a track that I used to think was really annoying, but after having its chorus and verse melody stuck in my head, I've grown to have a greater appreciation for it. I mean, it has a certain level of cuteness that I'd say is tolerable and quite enjoyable, in fact, as it continues side 1 on a very positive note. This can't be said about the following song, House of Four Doors, Part 1, as this layers several different pieces of music, all with distinct moods to them, in a way that enhances the story within the lyrics very well. It's tough to distinguish which pieces I like the most, but I really like how sunny the chorus sounds, and every musical passage basically after the sound of a door opening, especially near the end where the song has this huge mellotron crescendo. It's just fantastic and beautiful. It transitions into one of the better known Moody Blues tracks, Legend of a Mind. I consider this to be probably the most progressive track on the album due to its many different patterns and many lush instrumental sections. The most notable can be the second half of the track, where the flute and mellotron enhance the atmosphere to an almost heaven-like quality that gets even more heavenly when the vocals come in, or the harmonies, I should say, for one more verse. And to me, I'd say that moment when right before, as they build up into that last line, where they're all singing about Timothy Leary, is just probably my favorite moment from this entire record. And it's just so beautiful, and it really shows how magical their music can be. And yeah, ending side 1, we have part 2 of House of Four Doors, which I'd say closes it out in the same theatrical way part 1 did, though it doesn't add anything new. I'd still say that it being basically a shorter version of the same song works in its favor, just because it makes it a little more accessible, and it adds to, or it reinforces, I should say, the overall theme or the concept of the record. So yeah, side 1, while it did take some time to grow for me, I think it's really paid off in the long run, as I do find that some of the more complex stuff on this side, I'd say. Side 2 begins with one of my favorite Moody Blues tracks, Voices in the Sky. This is one of the 2 tracks on this record I remember being transported by just how dreamy and majestic the instrumentation was. I absolutely love how clean Hayward's vocals are, and how it adds a sort of sophistication to their psychedelic rock. And whether or not you do entertain yourself with any kind of substance, I think tracks like these can be enjoyed by anyone, as they all carry an uplifting feeling through their music. So whether you're a drugged out hippie or someone's grandma. I feel like sunshine, psychedelic pop like this from the 60s still can resonate with any audience. Or anyone that I personally think would have a good taste in music. Or find decent at most. This is followed by Best Way to Travel. That I'd say is a track that I used to think stuck out badly on side 2, but over time, like Dr. Livingstone, I presume, I've really find it amusing now how trippy yet melodic it is at the same time. I love how they arrange the song and how rhythmic the acoustic guitar is throughout it, and it's a song that definitely continues to grow on me for good reason, because though it is a little more energetic, I'd say, kind of like Riding My Seesaw, it's still really good on its own. The same can be said about the next track, Visions of Paradise, which was not that I didn't like the song, but I never realized how amazing it was until a few more listens. This is again another classic Moody blues song that takes me away to paradise like the title implies. I mean, as it's currently playing, it makes my room a little more scenic, I should say. Every instrument being played as well as the vocals only enhance the experience in a way that makes the track even more grand and beautiful. I would highly recommend a track like this to someone who's new to the Moody Blues, as it really introduces the kind of magic that their music has, especially on their early albums, I should say. I would also recommend their next track, which was the second song that blew me away when I first heard it, that being The Actor. I just love how fantasy-like it is with its use of flute and acoustic guitar, and those vocals once more being so gentle yet so captivating. It's simply serene. This also is a perfect representation of how psychedelic yet charming their music can be, and it continues side 2 on such a strong note. The music then takes a breather on the track The Word, which is basically a narration by Pinder explaining that the lost chord that we all seek is, in fact, the sacred sound Om, which I'm a little familiar with, so I do think it's a pretty reasonable comparison in terms of calling it the lost chord. And I think it's a satisfying conclusion to this concept album. This transitions into the song of the same name and the big closer, Om. Its atmosphere follows the same style as the tracks before on side 2, but with a little more, with a more prevalent sitar, I should say, and a more bombastic melody as well, which I really enjoy. That is backed by some wonderful harmonies. It's certainly a strong conclusion to this musical exploration that not only the lyrics interpret, but the music as well. I also really like the psychedelic jamming that goes on in the middle bit of it, and especially the last few seconds of this track, and as well as the album, where they're just singing in harmony together, and it just slowly fades away. It's just so satisfying, like I've already mentioned. It's such a beautiful album, and while I said it did take some time to grow on me, but I'm glad I was patient because the payoff is huge, so I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. Now, of course, if I haven't made this obvious, I'd say my favorite side of this record is the second side, but like I said, I do like the variety on side 1, especially on House of Four Doors. My top 4 songs, however, would probably have to be Legend of the Mind, Voices in the Sky, Visions of Paradise, and The Actor. The songs are just all great, and in my opinion, all essentials to their catalog in terms of like building like a greatest hits or something. This is just an old copy of it. Got it for like $8, I think, at my local record store. So nothing fancy here, but I don't know, it's a nice, clean copy. This photo used to confuse me because I used to think there's like 10 guys in the band, and I was like, dang, this is like a project of people, but no, I was wrong. This is pretty nice too. I like the little detail and talking about I think this is actually the word in the bottom, like the lyrics. And then this is just talking about the mantra, that being Om. Pretty cool stuff, bro. Pretty hippie-ish, you could say. I didn't get to mention this either, but I think they were using a lot of drugs at this time as well. They really discovered it, so maybe that helped with their music. You know, it's funny too, I've recently just listened to their last album, sorry, the album before this, Days of Future Past, and that's is really good too. And I hope I can find a clean copy of that, because that would be very lovely, and I would definitely talk about it. Maybe not so soon, because I like to split the artists apart, but yeah. Anywho, if you're still watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll say that the next album I'll be reviewing is a much heavier album than this, which I'll be excited, because I really love how the music of psychedelia is like an umbrella, and a lot of different genres or subgenres can be considered psychedelic, yet they're so far apart, which of course that's why I do this channel, to talk about the range of psychedelia. So yeah, I hope to see you in the next video, and yeah, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Alright, have a good one. Bye.